Welcome to my home improvement video number 1. This is going to be how to make a stepping stone, and what I have here is a mold for a stepping stone that we can mold out of cement, out of concrete, and that's what we're going to do. For this project we're going to need a mold. You don't have to buy a commercial mold, although they're generally available and some cool stuff. Between 15 and 30 bucks out there online. Just order it up. We're going to need a little bit of water. We're going to need a bucket and a trowel. We're going to need cement. I got a couple of rags here. You'll see why in a minute. We're going to need a little bit of oil. Spray oil is actually a easier thing to use. As far as the cement goes, so what I'm using for cement is this Quikrete countertop mix. I did some research, and of course you can just use regular ordinary cement mix. High strength is better. Okay, so the first thing I'm doing is getting my mold ready, which I'm going to do by taking the dry mold and putting a little oil on the interior surface so that when we pour our concrete, it doesn't stick. A little bit of oil, probably using better part, well, quarter cup maybe for this whole project. Okay, now we're going to get right to the business of mixing the cement. So we open the bag. We open the bag. This part's easy. You gotta get it open up enough here so that you can get a trowel into it. One tool I forgot to mention was a garden trowel or something, a giant spoon, so you can get this out. Okay, I have hand mixed this cement, but I've mixed it up to a consistency thicker than pancake batter. See how it sits on the trowel? If I turn it, it will slide off, but it'll tend to clump, and it has some flow to it. But like that. It's going to be good. And now it's time to put this in the mold. It's really pretty easy if you didn't mix up too damn much to simply pour. Oh, look, it doesn't pour worth anything. Pour this in. Okay, I was expecting this. So you dump it in and then push it around with your trowel so that it gets in all of the crooks and crevices and crannies. Looks like I might have this just slightly overfilled, which isn't going to hurt me. So I'm going to do some tapping and some shaking in the mold. And look at this, I'm overflowing here a little bit. You can see it on that edge. So I'm actually going to pull a little bit out. Just take a scoop out of the middle here. Push some of the material from the edges back in. You got a little bit of working time with this stuff. Working time is how long you can do this. You can play with it, smooth it, fuss around with it. Fortunately, we don't have to worry too much about a finish on the back of this because we're doing a stepping stone, and the other side is the top, the side that's in the mold. So this is in the bottom. All I want is to make sure it's relatively smooth and flat across the back, so that as I set the stepping stone into its ultimate place when it's finished, it will be easy to level and keep. Now, I've taken the rest of my cement mix, which I ended up with plenty, and I put 1.5 to 2 inches in the bottom of a clean bucket, which I also oiled. I may stick a couple of bolts in there so that as it hardens later, I've got something to grab to try to pull it out, because this is not a mold, like doesn't have the little bit of flexibility that an actual cement stepping stone mold has. Let me also say a word about cleanup. I've just filled my mixing bucket with clean water, with water from the tap, and I'll just stir it up and get my bucket and my trowel clean. And then you want to have a place located beforehand where you can dump this. It doesn't go into storm drains. It doesn't go into the municipal water system or sewer. You need a place in your yard with a little bit of that you won't kill the grass or something like that. It's not going to be very, it's just sand and cement mix. It's, highly diluted, so it's going to end up as basically a sand. We are now prepared to release the stepping stone from the mold. I have a piece of wood here, a piece of plywood that's not quite as big as the stepping stone, but what I'm going to do is turn this whole thing over using the plywood so that I don't lose my, oh, look at that, it popped right out thanks to our oiling the thing, and we have a beautiful sunflower. Here is that beautiful sunflower stepping stone, freshly out of the mold. Now this is the bucket that I poured some of the excess cement into. It's hardened into concrete, and you can see there's a couple of bolts that I put into the cement and let them harden overnight. All I need to do, in theory, is reach down and lift on these bolts. They give me something to grab onto so I can gently lift my stepping stone out of the bucket. This one's a little thicker. Ooh, got lots of oil in there. Now, I want to point out that I put lag bolts in this thing with the intention of being able to take them out later. But you know what? I was able to unscrew them and get them out. You could certainly get a wrench or a pair of pliers on your lag bolts if that's the route you choose to go. I'm gonna call this a win. Now, the next thing I'm going to do with my stepping stone is to take a concrete brick. And I'm going to basically use it like a giant sanding block to clean up and to roughen up the edge of my stepping stone, because a little bit of paint left in the bucket that adhered to the outside of this block that I'll just take off, sand it off. And I'm also going to smooth the corners, the edges here a little bit, so they are more natural looking. I don't want a stepping stone that somebody looks at and says, oh, did you just pour that in the bottom of a 5-gallon bucket? We'll be a little bit more refined than that. Now, the next step I'm going to take in trying to make my stones look a little more natural and blend in a little bit with their surroundings is that I'm going to stain them with a little bit of deck stain. In this case, I've got some it's Australian timber oil, but any oil-based stain should work. You can even paint these darn things, you know, if you wanted to, and see how this comes out. But I'm going to try to achieve not a painted look, but more a variegated look when I'm done here, by brushing this on gently and letting it soak into the still curing cement. And I am setting them aside after I throw a little stain on there, and then putting a wet towel, an old crummy towel, over the top of them, leaving them in a cool, damp place to cure. Okay, this this is the location where I'm going to put my finished stepping stone. There's, I'm going to set it so that it invites you in off the lawn onto a path, which I have not built yet. What we're going to do is create a level sound spot for this stepping stone. Ta-da!